Year 876, at the summit of Embercrest Mountain, you open your eyes for the first time as a phoenix. Your body is wrapped in layers of gold and crimson feathers, each quill tipped with a faint ember glow, and your wingtips pulse like the edge of a forge. Heat radiates from you in waves, clinging to the thin mountain air, and every breath you take feels like pulling fire into your chest. Around you, the remains of your hatching crackle and fade. A shell not of clay or egg, but of pure flame, collapsing into ribbons of smoke that curl upward and disappear. The stone beneath your talons is blackened and brittle from the heat of your birth. There is no parent here, no flock, no warmth beyond the one you carry inside yourself. You are born alone, and the mountain wastes no time in reminding you of that. The wind howls past, cold enough to bite even through your blaze, threatening to choke the fire in your wings before it has truly taken hold. Instinct forces you to leap, talons scraping the scorched rock as you launch into the air for the first time. Your wings snap wide, catching the updraft, but the world beyond the nest is a wall of danger. Far below, in the jagged valleys, you glimpse movement, hunters wrapped in furs, their eyes fixed on the sky. They have been waiting for this day, for this single chance. Your kind is rarer than myth, yet worth more than empires. A single feather can buy the loyalty of kings. Your tears are said to cure any illness, and your ashes are believed to grant life itself. But to collect them, you must be burned before your time. Somewhere in the rocks, an arrow tip glints. On the ridge, a shadow moves. You have lived less than an hour, and already the hunt has begun. Before your wings have fully grown, the hunt never stops. The first days after your birth are spent in the air more than on the ground, because every time you land, the earth feels wrong, the air too still, the silence too heavy. Your feathers, glowing faintly even in shadow, are worth more than gold to those below. The tears you shed in pain or grief are said to heal any sickness, and because of that, men carry chains, blades, and cages, not to kill you outright, but to keep you alive just long enough to bleed you slowly. You learn quickly that there is no such thing as a safe place. You rest in the high branches of an ancient cedar one night, thinking the darkness will hide your fire. But before the moon reaches its peak, smoke drifts upward through the leaves. Men below, circling, carrying torches not for light, but for signaling. You leap away before they can climb, wings slicing the cold air, and vanish into the mountain fog. Days later, thirst drives you to a shallow river, the sound of running water too tempting to ignore. You descend, talons curling over the slick stones, firelight reflecting off the water's surface. But before you can drink, the trees ahead shift in unison. Hidden lines pull tight, and nets weighted with iron spring upward, tangling the air around you. Arrows tipped with barbed hooks streak toward your wings. You throw yourself sideways, the heat of your body scorching one net into flames, claws shredding another as you twist free. The attack scatters, but the danger is not over. As you climb, the wind carries a sound that freezes your flight, a scream so raw it vibrates in your chest. Turning toward it, you see smoke rising from a nearby clearing. There, staked to the ground with its wings pulled wide, another young phoenix thrashes. Its feathers are still bright, unmarked by age, its voice breaking as the men below feed logs into the fire beneath it. They are not destroying it for revenge or fear. They are forcing the cycle, burning it before it's time to harvest what comes after. You hover just beyond the tree line, every instinct screaming to act, but the clearing is thick with armed hunters. One raises a hand to shield his face as the phoenix's chest ignites, the flames swallowing it whole. When its body collapses into a heap of glowing ash, they cheer as if they've won a war. You cannot watch them take the prize. You turn and rise into the sky. The sound of their voices and the sight of its final gaze burned deeper into you than any flame. You learn early that your life will not end with death, and that this is not a gift. The first time you feel it, you are still young by Phoenix standards, only a few decades into a span that will stretch far beyond any mortal's comprehension. At first, it hides itself well. A faint heaviness in your wings, the way the glow at the tips of your feathers fades from bright gold to a dim, tired red. You tell yourself it is only fatigue, that the long flights and endless escapes are catching up to you. But then the stiffness comes, deep in your chest, every breath dragging as though your lungs are filling with ash. Flying becomes a battle. The wind no longer catches your wings as easily, and each dive toward the earth ends with a jolt of pain through your legs. Inside, where your fire lives, something begins to stir, a slow, deliberate heat, the kind that does not fade but builds with every heartbeat. You have seen it before. Once, high above a canyon, you spotted an older phoenix struggling to stay aloft. Its wings dragged at its sides, the tips of its feathers curling inward like burnt paper. You followed at a distance as it landed on a lonely outcrop, too far from any predator for this to be a hunt. The moment its talons touched stone, the fire inside it roared to life, bright enough to blind you. It screamed only once before collapsing into a column of flame, feathers peeling away in the wind. You watched as it fell silent, the fire devouring everything until there was nothing left but a smoldering heap. And then you saw it, movement in the ashes, flesh and bone knitting together, wings reforming, the creature rising once more. But the eyes were different now. They carried the weight of what had just happened. That memory haunts you because now the same signs are in you. The heat in your chest spreads up your neck and down your legs, relentless. Smoke begins to curl from your own feathers. You try to fight it, flying harder, pushing higher into the coldest air you can find. But the fire is part of you, and it will not be denied. Your body ignites feather by feather, the flames crawling across your skin, stripping you of shape until you collapse into yourself. You are alive for every instant of it, fully aware as you burn. Darkness takes you, and for a brief moment you think perhaps this is peace. But the warmth returns, uninvited and unstoppable, stitching you back together until your eyes open again to a world that has not asked for you any more than you asked for it. Every detail of the death you just endured remains sharp in your mind. Every scream, every moment of agony is still yours to carry, and you know it will happen again. It takes you years to understand the truth, but once it settles in, it never leaves you. You are alone. Not alone in the way a predator prowls alone at night, able to choose company when it wishes, but alone in the sense that there is no one else in the world who shares your life, your burden, your fire. You have searched. In your first century, you flew across oceans, followed mountain ranges for months, gliding above forests so vast they seemed endless, hoping for the glint of golden feathers in the distance. The closest you ever came was the faint echo of a cry, high and haunting, that pulled you across 3 days of open desert. You arrived to find only an abandoned nest of blackened stone, still warm from a fire that had burned days earlier. There are no flocks of phoenixes, no territories to gather in, no migration patterns to follow. In myth, they say there is only one phoenix in an age, and when it dies and is reborn, it is still the same soul returning, carrying all the lifetimes that came before. If that is true, then even if another phoenix rises somewhere beyond the horizon, it is not another, it is you, in a form you have not yet become. This thought coils tightly around your mind, because it means there is no future where you are not the only one of your kind. You see herds of deer crossing valleys together, wolves running in coordinated silence, birds in their hundreds filling the sky with motion, and you feel the gap more sharply than any wound. Loneliness becomes a constant companion, hovering at the edge of every hunt, every flight, every sunrise. You cannot pass down what you know to a chick. You cannot share the work of building a nest or guarding the airspace. You will never look into another set of eyes and see the exact reflection of your fire. The mountains and the centuries change around you. Civilizations rise and collapse beneath your wings, and still, when you land, it is only your shadow on the ground. The cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth is not just a loop, it is a closed circle with only you inside it, spinning forever. Centuries stretch behind you like an unbroken trail of fire, each lifetime leaving its mark until the weight of memory feels heavier than your wings. As a phoenix, you have witnessed entire kingdoms rise from nothing, their cities built stone by stone, their streets alive with music and laughter, only to crumble into dust while you continue to circle the skies above. The faces of those you once knew blur together over the centuries, but the ache of losing them never fades. Friends, if you could ever truly call them that, were always mortal. Hunters who spared you once, sailors who guided you through storms, a child who left offerings of fruit on a windowsill each dawn until one day the window stayed empty. Every connection you make ends the same way. You endure, they do not. The fatigue is not just in your body, but in your mind. the constant erosion of hope each time you watch the world change without you. One evening, curiosity drags you to the coast where an ancient city once stood. You remember it vividly from a lifelong past, white walls gleaming in the sun, banners fluttering above the harbor, the smell of spiced bread drifting through the markets as you perched unseen on a rooftop. Now, as you approach, the sea has claimed it. The shore is jagged, broken pillars rising from the waves like the ribs of a long-dead beast. Streets where you once walked among humans are now nothing but sand and tide pools, fish darting where merchants once bartered. You land on a cracked tower barely holding together, the stone blackened by centuries of storms. You stare toward the horizon and imagine how many times you will stand here again, watching the ruins of this same place sink further into the water. For a phoenix, survival is not triumph. It is the slow gathering of endless losses, the knowledge that you will keep flying over the graves of worlds until there is nothing left but the sky and the fire that keeps you alive. It begins the same way every time, but knowing what is coming makes it worse. Deep in your chest, the first sparks awaken, small at first, like embers caught in a breath of wind. You are a phoenix, and you understand your own body too well. The heat does not fade. It builds layer by layer, until it pushes against your ribs and coils around your spine, creeping into your wings and down your legs. Each heartbeat feels heavier, slower, but hotter, as though your own blood is boiling. You have lived this before, and the memory is sharper than any talon. You know exactly when your feathers will ignite, which nerve will flare first, how long the searing will last before you collapse. That certainty is its own kind of torture. The first flames lick along your wingtips, curling the feathers inward as smoke rises past your face. Then the blaze swallows your back, your chest, your throat. You do not scream anymore. You did in the first centuries, but now the fire takes your breath too quickly. The heat is total. There is no part of you that is spared. Every joint feels as though molten iron has been poured into it. Every bone softens, cracks, and disintegrates while your mind stays cruelly awake through it all. When your body finally gives way, it is not relief you feel, only the suffocating stillness of the ash around you. The world is gone, the sound is gone, the weight of your own form is gone, and in that void, there is always the same dangerous thought, maybe this time it will end. Maybe this is the last fire. For a heartbeat, you believe it, but the curse does not release you. The warmth returns, growing hotter and brighter until the ash shifts and reshapes. Muscle and bone knit back together. Feathers push through new skin, already glowing faintly as your chest rises with the first breath of this life. You open your eyes to a sky you do not recognize. The world has changed again, but not for the better. There are more settlements, more hunters, fewer wild places to hide. You take flight, and the air feels heavier than before, not because your body is weak, but because you know the cycle has not broken. It never will. For a phoenix, rebirth is not a gift, and survival is not a triumph. It is a sentence passed long ago, carried out in fire, ashes, and the endless certainty that you will burn again.